Hi, listeners. Hi, everyone. So, this is the Overcoming Your Story podcast, and today we have our first guest, Telma Diaz, my friend. So, I'm very grateful you accepted to come on as our first guest. We are going to have a great conversation, I'm sure. So, let's dive in. Tell me about yourself, tell me about yourself in your own words.
Okay, so hi everyone, hi listeners, hi Miriam. So I am Portuguese. My dad is Portuguese and is white. My mom is from Guinea-Bissau, so she's black, so I'm mixed race. I grew up in Switzerland for 15 years in Geneva, and now I came to live in England. So I have a very various background, so Portuguese background, Swiss background, and now British background. It's like a bit, it's like traveling everywhere, just like, my ancestors, the famous explorers from Portugal. And now I'm currently working in a school, teaching French to my wonderful classes. And I also have a background in filmmaking, and I'm hoping to return to that as well, so include that in my current work. And let's see how it goes.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. So this podcast is about discussing our lives, how we were raised and how it has impacted us and how we transcended and found ourselves or are transcending because it's a process. So Telma, so how were you raised? Where were you born?
So I was born in Portugal. I don't know if anyone know, but Portugal is great as a holiday destination. But I think to live in Portugal, it wasn't really easy. So my mom made the decision to leave Portugal. Initially, she wanted to go to France. She went there, but somehow she didn't like it there. And she had a friend or a relative in Switzerland, and that's when she went to Switzerland. And whilst my mom was setting things up for us in Switzerland, we went to live in Africa for I think a couple of years. And I have to say, it was really rough because my mom and dad, they gave us everything, and obviously I had a very tough upbringing. When you are from any African origins, you get smacked, you get beaten sometimes. And I have to say, I had that, but not as bad as when I went to live in Guinea-Bissau. And in Guinea-Bissau, I realized you get beaten up for even pointless stuff. Even the teachers would beat you up. I mean, it was, let's just say I didn't like living there, for 2 years. When you lived, you had everything. Like you can go to the shop, you can do anything you want to do. But when I want to live in, and that's the thing that actually it's a good thing I see today. When I was living in Guinea-Bissau, we lived in a remote village, so in the middle of nowhere, and you can't go to the shop, you can't go to the city. It was a village, the habitant, and some market, and that was it. So that was a stark contrast to what I was used to. So in Portugal, I want to go to the beach, I can go to the beach. I want to go to town, I could go to town. It made me realize that's where I found out about my origins. And the funny thing is, even today in Portugal, they see me as an African person. But when you are in Africa, when I was in Guinea-Bissau, they saw me as a white person. They were like, your hair is different, you're very light, and because of the things I was used to. So in a way, I felt like I never belonged anywhere. I don't know how to explain it, but being
Yeah.
mixed race, it's like you don't really have. Nobody wants to claim you. Nobody wants to own you. I don't know how to explain it. But
Yeah.
when we went to live in Switzerland, obviously, it's different than Portugal and Guinea-Bissau. Switzerland is very rich, very
So how old
wealthy.
were you when you moved back to Guinea-Bissau?
So, okay, when I left Guinea-Bissau, Portugal to go to Guinea-Bissau, I was about 2 years old. I stayed there for 2 years. So when I left Guinea-Bissau, I was 4. So when I went to Switzerland, I was actually 4 years old. And honestly, I was gobsmacked. The streets, the banks, the buildings. It's like Wall Street. I don't know how to explain this, but the difference is just gobsmacking. But Switzerland had so much to offer, and I've got to say I'm grateful for everything. But living there it was hard because in the late 80s I was there. I think it was 80, 86, 87. I think it was 86 or 87. I'm not sure. But in the late 80s, yeah, Geneva is not the Geneva of today. You know, Geneva of today is full of people from many nationalities. It's a metropolitan city. It's an international city. But back then, you have to remember, in the 80s, it was quite racist. And I experienced racism from the get-go. Like, first time I went to class, teachers didn't want to deal with me because I didn't speak the language. So I had nobody teaching me French, so I had to learn it on my own. And I was always dubbed like the person that doesn't know anything. So I was not only the teachers didn't like me, the classmates they looked at me as if I'm like an outsider. Like, what are you doing here? And you don't belong here. So it was hard. I don't know. I felt like I was beaten up by words, by the
Mm.
attitude of people. So in Africa, I was beaten up like, for the rules or whatever when I was listening. And the thing is, I have to be honest with you, I'm all of this made me somebody that used to stand up for myself, very hard strong, headstrong, tough person. So I somehow managed to get used to the beatings, if that makes sense. But the racism at the beginning it was hard. I really didn't find it easy to deal
Mm.
with. I used to go home and cry. I used to be in the playground and cry. And I have to
Also, you're
say,
talking about the difference with living in Guinea-Bissau, where you were
yeah,
physically beaten,
yeah,
that you managed to somehow, well, you were very
yeah,
young when we think of it.
yeah,
It's yeah.
yeah,
But when you came to Switzerland, that it was harder, even though the context economically was better.
yeah.
But as a person, it was hard for you because you didn't feel accepted. You didn't feel you belonged.
Yeah, and also the thing that people don't know, the Portuguese. I mean, you've been living in Geneva, and there was a
Yes.
time a Portuguese. At the same time, we went to live in Switzerland. The Portuguese population as well started to also move to Switzerland in the 80s. And sadly for them, when they arrived there, they were either cleaners or builders. So I was mocked for that. The fact that I'm Portuguese. Oh, and my mom used to be a cleaner. Like, I'm not ashamed to say that she was. And it was for her to put food on the table. I mean, what else can she do? So for all of those reasons, I was mocked for being Portuguese because Portuguese were known for being cleaners and builders, so very low, like in the scale, the lowest of the lowest. And being as well mixed race, it doesn't matter for them that you're mixed race. The fact that for them you're black, and that's it. It doesn't matter. You have this mixed, so that was really tough. When you go in a school where all your classmates, and at the time we were, I wouldn't say we were not legal in Switzerland, but my mom didn't have all the papers sorted. It was in the process. And technically in Switzerland you have to have it all settled before you even live there. So we were clandestines a little bit, if that makes sense. So all of that
Mm.
added to the fact that I couldn't open up my mouth, say, "Oh, why are you talking?" Like I was told I had to be really quiet and not fight back. So
Mm.
for a long
Yeah,
time I
because
had to
of the
shut it. Exactly, I had to
because
let
of the documents. Yeah.
for the documents. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't reply back if people say, "Oh, you Portuguese," or "You go back where you come from." And trust me, what I'm saying is nice compared to what I was told on my face and sometimes behind me. It was really tough. And I have to
Mm.
say, for 15 years, I have to be honest, every single year of my life there, I've faced some sort of racism, one form or another, and that never stopped, sadly. And
Mm.
I have to say that's one thing that no matter how much I tried to adapt, I never accepted that fact that, because for me, I was young. For me, racism, what, why? I mean, are we not all
Yeah.
human people? Are we not, what, like, in my class there were some that were white, but they were not even Swiss. So how come they're accepted and I wasn't accepted? So it
Yeah.
was really, really hard to take. And I
So
also,
for
yeah,
yeah, just for context, how we met, it's a very funny
yeah,
story, I think.
yeah,
We met in a Facebook group for writers, right?
yes. Was it blog? I forgot which
Yeah.
one it was.
No, I think it was a memoir writing group or
Yes,
just a writing group, something like that.
yes.
How did we realize? I think, did I ask a question Or you asked a question and I commented something.
That I think you commented on the fact my blog was about my experience in Switzerland, and you said
Yes.
you are also from Switzerland, and you know what it's like, and now you live in Canada. And I remember we were having this discussion, and it was very interesting that you sadly face the same thing, and it's really
Yeah.
it's not
So from
easy.
there we connected and then we spoke on
Yeah,
the phone.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was very it's interesting. Yeah,
yes, yes. And what just for listeners to understand, in Switzerland there were a few waves of immigration. I think the first one were the Italians. I don't know exactly the date, if
yeah.
it was
I
like the
think
60s, 70s,
yeah,
something.
in Geneva especially, that's one thing I remember.
Yeah.
The Italian, I think they went first, then were the
Yes, they were
Spanish,
first. Yes,
and then the
there
Portuguese.
were a lot of discrimination against them. And
Yeah,
then,
and
as you
then
said, the
those from
Spanish,
Kosovo, yeah, the Spanish after, I think there was in the
then the
70s, the Spanish,
Portuguese.
the Portuguese in
Yeah,
the 80s. But I remember there was a lot of bad stuff happening in Albania, and
yeah,
people from Albania
the
came,
war.
I think, in the 90s, or yeah, but I know that
Yeah,
that side they came afterwards as well. And the
yeah,
funny thing again, I mean, it's not funny, but when I saw, like, I was there before them, right? And they didn't face no discrimination whatsoever, like not as bad as I have received. And I still puzzle me how come you accept them, why, because they're white. And yeah, it's just weird, and that saddens me, really does. But it is what it is.
yeah.
But
And
it did affected my mental health for a long time. I didn't know how to deal with my anger. The fact also, when we
did
started
you
living in
have
Switzerland,
did you have friends? Did you have people to talk to? Like, what did your mom do? Like, what did your parents do? Could they support you? Did they understand? Because sometimes it's hard for parents to.
well, to be honest, the person that connected straight the most ever since I was born was my dad. He understood, and the funny thing with him, we were the same. We were totally like he's my half. I don't know how to explain this, but he met my mom in Africa. So imagine he was the outsider going to Africa, but he was accepted. He was fully accepted by because he traveled not only in Guinea-Bissau but many part of Africa, and he was always accepted. No matter which country he went to in Africa, he was accepted. So in that context, my dad understood what was going through. And the funny thing is, when he lived in Switzerland, he didn't like living there. The fact is, Portuguese. He has so many certificates, diplomas. He was an architect, so he made great studies. But they let him know, listen, you just came here. You have to start from bottom before you go to the top. So they gave him jobs like cleaning, like builder job. He tried to do it, but he wasn't happy. Because imagine you're in Portugal, you earn your life very well. You give up some of good opportunities because at the time he wanted to go to South Africa, but in South Africa it was the time of the apartheid. So he couldn't go there because my mom was black. So he goes to Switzerland against his will because I don't think he never liked it there. He never liked the people attitude. And the funny thing is, he's never been discriminated for being Portuguese or anything like that because he sort of gets along well, but there's something about Switzerland that I didn't like. And I think also seeing my mom treatment, because he's somebody that's not a racist person and he doesn't like racism. And what he saw, like plain racism, what I was going through as well, he just didn't like it there at all. And that's the one person that understood me fully what I was going through. So I used to talk to him about my dad's school, about how I hate it, how I want to go back to Portugal. Heck, I even wanted to go back to Guinea-Bissau because I was getting used to the life there, even the beatings or whatever. But Switzerland in the beginning, I have to be honest, I hated it. And no, I didn't have really friends there. My sister was like my friend because I used to hang up with my sister and her friends. And no, I didn't have really people. The some people that made friends was the boys because I was tough, I was rough. So they were like buddies, but boys, you can't really have a heart to heart. Oh, this is what I'm going through. They don't care about that. They just, and I've to say the one thing I like with the boys, they accepted me the way I was. They didn't care where I was from. The fact I was playing their games, I was rough, and I was a tomboy as well. That helped me feel integrated in the group. But yeah, it really the girls were really very mean, really, really mean. And a lot of stuff they were saying, like, oh, I'm a monkey, I should go in the trees, or look at your hair, like, what's wrong with your hair, or whatever. So it was very tough, really, really tough. And I hope and pray it's not like that today, because they don't understand the impact it can have on somebody's
And
mental health,
some,
because it
yeah.
really is awful. It's really bad. And my kids, I'm even jealous. My kids, they accepted for where they are. They never gone through stuff like that. My daughter, she got two friends that are white Colombians. They don't give a damn about my daughter being black. They don't care about that, you know. But my
Mm.
dad understood. My mom, in a way, she understood me. But from what my understanding, she made me understand that that was a good life, you know, living in Switzerland. So we didn't really have a choice what to stay there. And yeah, again, don't get me wrong, the opportunities there were amazing. Financially, it's amazing there, but the treatment, even my mom, she received even worse treatment than myself. But she said we just have to keep going, and it was hard. It was really, really hard. But what broke me was when my mom and my dad separated. Oh, I was really depressed, angry. I was really upset.
How old were you then?
I was 6 or 7 when my dad left.
Oh
And it
wow,
was a
yeah,
shock
young.
because we just started living in Switzerland, and you are the person in a way that can help us not get this abuse, because mixed race people back then, it was non-existent. You don't really see it. Obviously today, pretty much all parents, I mean, all couples are mixed race, like one black, one white. But back then it wasn't like that. We used to get funny looks, but afterwards, because my dad was white, that allowed us not to get dirty looks all the time. So when he left, it really broke me. It really totally, I had no one to talk about what I was always going through. Somebody who was understanding and always encouraging me, like, come on, you can do it. It was hard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm not saying my mom wasn't there, but she was going through the same thing. So it's like music to her ears. Like, there's nothing she can do, there's nothing I could do. So it was really hard to take it. But I think no amount of racism could really pain me as much as when my dad left. It was really, really awful. I think it was the
Yeah,
worst day of my life.
for a child, I mean, that's one major trauma. Especially you
Yeah.
loved your dad,
Oh, I
from
adored
what you
him.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
can imagine that not feeling comfortable in Switzerland and then seeing your parents separate. And then I know your mom, she was working, I'm sure, a lot to make
Yeah.
ends meet.
Yeah. So
And then, it
she didn't
was
have
not
time. Yeah.
easy.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't have time for us. I mean, my mom, all her life in Switzerland, she's always been working, sometimes 2 jobs, 3 jobs. So she's always been busy. Even now, even now, she's been in Switzerland for 30 years. She's still working as crazy as before. It's not easy.
Yeah. What is funny about Switzerland, or actually not funny, is that it has this perfect image in the international arena where you go everywhere. So I left Switzerland after 19 years living there.
Mm-hmm.
For the same reasons, I just couldn't take the racism anymore. And when I had children, I just couldn't imagine my daughters going through the life I went through. And today I'm realizing that there are many years of my life in Switzerland. I lived as if I was not there. I was physically there, but in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, I was not there. And I think it's quite sad. It's like
Yeah.
as if I lost years of my life, right? But the
Yeah.
pain was just so much that that's how I dissociated myself to manage the pain. But all this to say that Switzerland is viewed very positively on the outside. When I came to Canada, everybody was telling me, why did you come to Canada? Switzerland is one of the best countries in the world. How could you leave Switzerland?
Mm.
At first I didn't know what to say, but more and more I tell them, well, it could be the best country, but not when you're a black woman.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
Exactly.
me as a black woman, if I tell you my experience in that country, you cannot imagine. So I
Yeah.
started like voicing it, because sometimes at first I didn't know what to say, because that's the thing in Switzerland too. People don't want you to speak. So you take this stance of not telling your
Mm.
pain, right?
Yeah.
You don't say you go through racism in Switzerland, because people will tell
No.
you that Switzerland is not racist.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh.
I don't even
And
say, I don't,
Geneva as well. Why you have all this international organization, You shouldn't be racist. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck is that?
The
It just doesn't
United
make sense.
Nations, all those.
Yeah, all of these things. And I have the same as you, the same comments. I'm here in England. Why did you leave Switzerland? It's so beautiful, whatever. Huh? I said, but it's not just about the beauty. Yes, it is breathtaking. It is, all of this is amazing, but you haven't lived in my shoes. You don't know what it's like. When you go in a class full of people and you get ignored by the teachers. Most of the time I was ignored, and now I realize the way I was behaving in class, I was, you know, seen as a troublemaker, attention seeker, and I was trouble. But it doesn't mean I was stupid, because the thing is, if you challenged me, if you tried to give me the, I would have done the work. But because the teacher didn't care about me, I didn't care about the work either. That's why I wasn't doing very good. And I have to say, it was awful. You know, like you said, I felt non-existent a lot of time in the classroom. And you spend, like, regardless what people think, kids spend most of their life in school. This is our social, and it was hard when you have others that get away with things, and you, when you do that little thing, no, you don't get away because you are black. It just doesn't make sense. It's just awful. And I have to say,
Yeah.
I don't regret. I mean, Switzerland, no matter what I went through, is part of me, because every time I like going home, it's still my home. But the years of suffering just because of the color of my skin, oh, it was awful. Sometimes I even cry myself to sleep. Sometimes I mean, I don't like to say it like that, and I hope I'm not going to offend your listeners, but sometimes I try to kill myself. I was like, you know what, I'm fed up. I can't deal with this. I was really in a point where I was like, I don't care anymore. But
Mm.
obviously I was too coward to do it. But to be honest, yeah, there was times I had very suicidal thoughts. Really, yeah. I told that to my
Um,
mom, and my mom was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that you had to go through this and whatever." But at the same time, I didn't want to tell her. I said, "Look, you were always working," because it was a time she was studying as well. She didn't have the time. And the thing is, I don't blame her, because she had to work, to provide for us, to pay the bills and everything. So it was hard. It was really hard.
I'm really sorry you went through that. So like, at what point did you realize that you have to leave Switzerland? Because I know that at one point you just said no, this place.
So what happened was, my mom, when my dad left, she tried to, entertain us. So we used to travel quite sometimes. So instead of just going to Portugal, we started to go to France. But I think what struck me was the first time we went to England. It was 1991, and I remember, and I don't know if you know this guy, this news anchor guy, this journalist, Trevor McDonald, is black. I saw him on TV. Oh, please research. He's a legend. I even got to meet him once, and I embarrassed myself. But anyway, I saw this guy. It's embarrassing. It's so, I swear, the
What
most
did you do again, Telma?
oh my god, I'll tell you that in a minute. But I saw this guy, black, presenting the news. You guys must think, oh, there's nothing new there. Remember, it's early 90s. In Switzerland, I've never seen that. In the 90s, I've never seen that. I think it was late, like in 2010s or something, or 2000, I'm not sure. But I've never seen a black presenter ever. Even we had French channels. I didn't see that in French channels either. I swear, if you guys saw it in the early 90s, let me know where, how. But I was shocked. The guy I didn't understand English, but I looked at him, I'm thinking, okay, somebody looked like me on TV. Like, how? And I also saw black policemen, again in Switzerland. I've never seen that. So I was really, when I came to England the first time, I was gobsmacked by w- the fact that we were walking down the street, nobody looking at us like differently or anything like that. We had, people being smiling at, being nice to us. Although the one thing I have to say in England I didn't like is the weather. The weather was really rubbish, rubbish beyond rubbish. But the people were so nice. So, and the food was rubbish too. I remember when you live in Switzerland and you
Yeah,
have
it's
your
hard to leave elsewhere.
exactly. But yeah, the people were so nice, and I remember saying to my mom, like, "What's going on here?" I had this image in my head, like, "Oh, the British, they're not very nice." But actually, they're very nice. One thing I would say, they're accepting, like in London, especially. And then since then, my mom made us travel a lot in England. We came again in 93, 94, and there was a habit. And then she said, okay, I used to like English. She said, okay, we're gonna send you to a host family so that you can go to school and live with a person that speak English. So we started with those. I think it was early 2000 or late 90s. I forgot. I think it was late 90s. And then that year, it was, I think it was in 1999. I'll never forget. I was in Margate, and I remember the host family was amazing. But I have to be honest with you, London, you have a lot of black people, mixed race, whatever. But when you go outside, at the time it wasn't as much, but you were still accepted. So I remember I was in Margate and I didn't want to return to Switzerland. I was like, my host family said, "Oh, now it's time for you to go." And I was saying to them, "Oh, can you like, can you adopt me? Like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to leave, you know." And then they're like, "We have to go back to your mom." And I said, "Yeah." And I realized, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I can't, you know. So I went to Switzerland, and basically my mom, and I was sad. I was really like, ah. My mom was like, "Oh, how was the holidays? What did you enjoy yourself?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "Mom, we need to talk." And my mom was like, "What's happened? Like, well, what's going on?" So I was 17. I said to my mom, I said, "Look, mom, I don't know how to say this, but I want to leave to England. I want to go and move to England." So at first she looked at me like, where does that come from, you know? And then I said, "Mom, I'm serious. I actually want to leave, you know, to go and live in England." And she said, "Oh, why? Like, what's up there?" And I said, "Look, I feel like there I'm always accepted. I feel like I've got opportunities there, and I still want to speak the English fluently. I don't want to just, because I was good in English, I was good in languages in school, but I said English, I want to speak it like a fluent person, and I said I can't do that here. And even though I wanted to be a translator or an interpreter, I was told in Switzerland it take me 10 years to have the English, to do the formation, whatever. And I'm sure they said that because I'm black. Because if it was somebody else, I don't think it will be 10 years. Like, come on." So my mom
No.
said, my only exactly. So my mom said, "Okay, my only condition is if you wanna go to England, you need to finish your school here, yeah, and then you can go to England." And I was thinking, imagine my mom said no. I was already imagining in my head. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna escape. I'm gonna go. What I don't know. I was gonna do something crazy to leave to England." But I'm glad she said yes. And I really have to say uh, I don't know how to explain. It's shocking because I love people like, "Oh, I'll never let my daughter do that." But then I said, "But why not? Like, if you find an agreement," my mom said, "finish your studies so that you have a diploma, and then that can always be useful." And she was right because
Yeah,
that diploma helped me in England. So I
that's
listened to her.
amazing.
I finished my school in 2 years, and I've got to say that's the first time in my life I worked as hard, but I did what I had to do, and I left. You know, and
Because you
then in
had a
my
goal.
exactly, and I remember the last year, the teacher was asking around, "Oh, what you guys gonna be? What you guys gonna do after college is over?" Everybody say architect or shopkeeper, whatever they said. And when it come to me, I'm gonna go to England. Everybody was laughing. I was like, "Yeah, right, yeah, right." And I said, "Yes." I said, "I'm going to England." They're like, "Yeah, yeah, but you're gonna travel was we all think." And I said to them, "I'm not gonna go there just to travel. I'm gonna go there to live." And the class was silent. And I said, "I'm serious, like I am going." So they just carry on not believing. But every time I come back, they're like, "Oh, my days, oh, you did it." I said, "Yes, I said I would do it." And that's the thing with me. I'm very stubborn. When I want something, I make sure I do what I said I'm going to do, or I get what I want to get, you know. So
That's amazing. That's
yeah, no,
amazing.
it was 19, you know, I finished my studies, and that's it. I went. And I'm
Wow,
going to
you were
say,
very brave. 19, you
oh,
moved
it
abroad by
wasn't
yourself.
easy, but I don't regret because, to be honest with you, when you're at that age, you know, you are when you're 19, early 20s, you come to an age where you need to think of exactly what you want. And I wasn't happy in Switzerland. I wasn't. I had everything. They provided a lot of things, a very good, you know, education and everything. But when you're not happy somewhere, I'm not the type of
Yeah,
person I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I'll get by." No, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy, so I had to do
yeah,
something that made me happy. So and I
I
don't
agree.
regret. I don't regret at all leaving Switzerland. I don't regret.
So, Telma, tell me something. So, after this upbringing that was not really easy, and these 15 years in Switzerland, So how did you view yourself? Like when you extracted yourself from this context, so you're in a new country. I'm sure it's not easy to start with because beginning in a new country is very difficult. Like, but
Yeah.
how has this childhood, this upbringing impacted you as a person? And how have you been like working on yourself, uncovering this story that it has left in you to become the Telma I
You
know?
know. Well, to be honest, I have to say, when I was saying that I felt non-existent in the classroom, when I came, and the thing is, I'm not saying that out of arrogance. I'm somebody who love to read. I love to explore things, learn new things. I always love that. But when teachers don't care about you, obviously you're not gonna care. So that when I came to live in this country in England, the opportunities opened up. I went to school and I was supported. Even the teacher said, yeah, you know what, you're very bright, you're hardworking. So all this feedback, this very good feedback helped me study. I studied my English. Within a year, I could speak English fluently. I went to study 5 years filmmaking. Before I wanted to do interpreter translator, but somehow it didn't work out. But then I had to fall back on filmmaking because one of my teachers said to me, "It's good that you learn English, but you need to put your English somewhere." And he said, "Filmmaking, like in media, it talks about everything. It deals with everything. Why don't you study media?" And I'm somebody who like films. I like to read anyway. So I said, okay, why not? And I did that, and then I went to university. And can you imagine teachers in Switzerland? They basically tell you, like, they write you off that you're not good for nothing, you're never gonna achieve anything. But I went to university, and I'm honestly, Mariam, I don't know how to say this, but every day that I used to go to university, I had to check my card. Like, I'm at university when I was told I will never be good for anything, I will never amount to anything. And even
Oh,
my
wow.
teachers even reassured me. They always said that you work really hard, you do what you have to do, you know your craft, like you're a hard working person. Like, I am lazy, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm lazy. I like to, sometimes I don't like to, anyway, it's a
Yeah,
contradiction,
like
but
like everybody, you know.
exactly. So I
Yeah.
have to say that really helped me, turn my negative childhood education into something positive. And I'm still training today. I'm training to be a teacher. So I've always been every opportunity education wise in this country. You have to remember in Great Britain, they gave you endless opportunity. You can be 50, 60, 80, 90. If you want to study, if you want to go back to school, they don't have age discrimination. In Switzerland, 50, 40, 40 even to go to school, that would never happen.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true. That's true.
if it happens, you're not gonna be, welcome with open arms. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
But I have to say, I turned it into positive, and it really allowed me to explore a lot of things, even explore my own abilities. That actually, yes, I can. I can be a good student. I can actually behave in class because I have the attention. I don't need to, you know, seek attention. So it really helped me build that up. And I have to say, I'm always grateful. And that's the thing. The day I met Trevor McDonald, so imagine you see this guy on TV in the 90s, right? I was 9 years old, first time I saw him on TV. And at the graduation, he was giving us our diploma. And I saw him and I was gobsmacked. I was like, and I say, I'm a big fan of yours. I love your movies. But the guy is not an actor, he is a journalist. He looks at me like, okay, congratulations. He didn't know what to say to me. I was like, what a
Oh my
stupid
goodness.
idiot. Like, you meet the guy that you always wanted to meet in your life, and you say something stupid like that. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Anyway, and when I told that to my mates, they were like, Thelma, what were you thinking? You could have just said you like him. I said, no, but I don't know what I was thinking. So anyway,
Oh.
I hope I was memorable with him. But it was great. The way he looked at me like, actor. Oh, okay, like, okay. She doesn't know who I am. And I'm thinking, but I know who you are. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it was so embarrassing. But
Oh
I
wow,
got
that's
to
so
meet my
funny.
hero live, so that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
no,
how
it
you
was.
see the positive side of things. It's amazing. Um,
Yeah, no, it helps.
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Your story is so wonderful. And also, I like to laugh, and I see that you always have a joke every time I talk to you, or I'm always laughing. I'm always
Uh,
laughing. So, um, how has that helped you? How has like the ability to be able to laugh about things? Because for me, it's helped me a lot in my life. Making fun
yeah,
of myself, even making fun of everyone. Okay, not all the time, but
yeah, I know
sometimes
what
it
you mean.
helps.
No, I have to say, when you have a really tough and hard upbringing, when you live in Switzerland, and I remember I was always a bit goofy, a bit crazy, but the thing is, when you don't have the attention of the teacher, you sort of do what you want to do, and I have to say, I try to fight. Like it's funny how those people who laugh, they always are the one, or happy, they always are the one who've been through a lot of stuff. They are the one, and there's a say, the best comedians are the ones who have to talk about a traumatic life. That's how it
That's
is. And I
true, though.
remember all the crap. I'm sorry for my language, but all the crap I went through in Switzerland. I sort of like tried to find the funny side, and that's how it was. And all the time I was like try to brush it off and forget about it, and I just try to every day try to get by. But it was tough. And when I came to this country, finally I was able to be myself. That this big, larger than life personality that I have. In Switzerland, it wasn't accepted, but here it's accepted. I mean, here everyone and anyone's accepted anyway. But that really helped me get through a lot of stuff, because there are days, like I said, I had really low point where I just didn't want to live anymore. But then I realized, you know what? And that there was one time I remember I was 13 when I was going through a really rough period. I thought, you know what? Yeah, there should be a light at the end of the tunnel. Always, I was keeping that in the focus. That yeah, things are not always as bad as you think, as you feel. So it helps to be positive. It helps no matter what situation. It really helps.
I know you also write. I've read your blog. So how has that also helped? Because you write really well, and
Oh, thank you.
you share your experiences in a very powerful way. So
So
how has
that has helped, because the thing is, I did English GCSE. So in order to be a to train as a teacher, I was told I need to have a GCSE in English, and they also asked me A levels, or equivalent of what I did previously. So that's why this diploma my mom said I should finish in Switzerland helped me to do the training. And then I realized I loved doing the English GCSE. And then when I was exploring the skills of using English, like metaphors, similes, and all of this language technique, I used to write on I think there's a group called Swiss in the UK or something like that. I used to write some of my experience, especially during the Black Lives Matter movement. After George Floyd died, I used to write like, you know what, I did experience racism in Switzerland, but I say it wasn't as bad, and I was giving some example of white people in Switzerland that were there for me that I really liked, and the people enjoyed my story. They were like, oh, you should have a blog and write about it. And I'm thinking, okay. And I say, I don't know how blog works. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. They say, oh, just have a website, and every week you post something. And I said that since you've done your English GCSE, your writing skills is good. Yeah, try and. And then I realized, yeah, it was when I started to share the story, it was like a therapy to finally to let it all out, to finally come to terms of, yeah, I suffer racism, but that's not going to define me as a person. And it really helped me. I started from the beginning, like not only when I was living in Switzerland, but from very beginning of when I was born and how it was, and then. But I've got to say, it really helps me, mentally, to sort of like see me when I was younger, how it affected me then, and how I went through it. And sadly, it does bring back not the best memories. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I even wrote and I cried about it. I'm thinking, gosh, that's awful to be that person. One time a teacher pulled my hair. One time she threw my report card on the floor. Like the things I'm thinking, that is awful. And me I'm training to be a teacher. I would never do that. And I don't think you can do that anyway, because otherwise you get sacked. But I'm thinking that's really horrible, and it really helps me to come to term, to all of that, and share my experience to other people that have been through racism in Switzerland or wherever they've been through it. So it does help me a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. yeah, I know how writing and going back can stir up a lot of things that that we had even forgotten or put aside to move forward. We are
Yeah,
in the
your
last.
emotions. Mm. I'm
So we
saying
are
the
in the last
emotions. Yeah.
minutes. Yeah, the emotions of. You mean the emotions of all? Yeah, everything that happened,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sorry, yeah. The emotion always come back. It's like you take yourself back. You sort of like see the you yeah, the like I don't know that evaluate, I don't know how to say that in English.
You evolved. You
Evolved,
evolved.
exactly, you
Yeah.
evolved. Yeah, so it helps a lot. So I encourage everyone that have been through a traumatic experience or anything you've been through, you know, whatever is your therapy, if it's writing, if it's yoga, if it's working out, whatever it is, do something about it. Don't just keep it in and then one day it just comes out. Just try
Yeah.
and it came out when I was 13, like in an explosive way because I didn't know how to deal with that anger that was building. But now I'm like, I understand why I was acting like that, and it helps me now today not to expose anymore. Like even sometimes it's in a rare occasion when I face racism, I know how to deal with like, you know, so it helps.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, so, any last words for our listeners? How do you take care of yourself? I know you're a mom. You go to
Yeah.
school. You work. You're a very busy woman.
Yeah.
So, how do you find time to take care of yourself, my dear Telma?
So, the blog helps me be with myself and my thoughts. Also, yeah, being a mom, it's like it's good to see your legacy in a way, to see those kids that one day, they represent you. But also, I've got to say, my students, I like to share my experience with my students. I don't just do, okay, I'm just going to throw you grammar and vocab. I sort of share about where I come from because they're always asking questions like, oh, you Miss Diaz, your name is Portuguese, but you speak French. So I also sort of like give them a brief slice of how my life used to be before. They are joking. They're like, oh, Miss, I can't believe you're terrible, whatever. So it sort of helps, to recycle your memories, the way you were before and now how you are now. So it really does help, to come to terms with things and to accept you as a person the way you are now. And yeah, it really helps to. The thing I would say, acceptance is key. Accept, be happy how you are, know how people want you to be, but how you feel like you are. It doesn't matter how
That's
people
amazing.
feel about you. Yeah, that's what I'd say. My husband, I've been with him for 15 years. He is the total opposite of me. He's very calm, he's not outgoing. I'm totally opposite. And when you have somebody that sort of complete you and accepts you for you are, supports you no matter what, that is lovely to have in your life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, it's amazing. So I have great support, my family, my kids, my husband, and that also, me, I'm always here for me. I'm always backing me. Everything I
Oh,
try to do, and
amazing.
exactly. So
Yeah.
you have to be your biggest fan. You have to look yourself in the mirror, be happy what you see, be happy with the reflection.
Oh,
Because if you don't,
your
nobody
words are
can do it
amazing.
for you. So you have to, love yourself, really.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Telma.
That's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Yeah.
Anytime.
You ended with very powerful words, really. You have to back yourself up, stand up for
Yeah.
yourself, love
Yep.
who you see in the mirror. Yeah, and
Yes.
be your biggest fan. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
like
taking
you
that
are, I'm
too as a
sure.
lesson.
Yeah, I'm sure that's you
Yeah.
too as well. Because what you do is very amazing. So you should be really proud of yourself. You got three daughters, one baby, and you're doing all of this. So it's very good. So honestly,
Oh,
keep up the great work.
oh, thank you, my dear. Thank you. I feel very encouraged. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, and bye for now.
Okay, bye.
Papa, Papa.